Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Disability Advisory Commission meeting for July 13th, 2016. We will start with roll call. First, we do have a couple of absences. Commissioner Van der Langert and Commissioner Herzog are absent. We do have one vacancy. Vice Chair Stutzman. Commissioner Van Adder.
Present.
Commissioner Yeager.
Present.
I am Chairman Poshner. I am present. Robert Harris.
Present.
Would you please join me in standing and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I will now call this meeting to order. We will start with staff reports. I will go last for this. Commissioner Yeager, would you like to start us out?
Yes, I don't know if it's redundant information, but I did want to mention that on July 30th, we're going to have an adaptive family swimming party at the Hollyhock Pool. And this is one of the things that I think makes Surprise so wonderful, that it does go above and beyond for people with who have disabilities, whether it's physical or otherwise. This is for people with a physical disability and their families, taking place at the Hollyhock Pool on June 30th. And I think it's a very nominal charge. It's a little cheaper if you buy a ticket in advance. And I do want to mention on the same day, again, I don't know if this is redundant, how many people know this, but it's worth mentioning that on the same day, they're having a swimming drive-in, which is at the regular swimming pool, or the main swimming pool, I should say, on Bullard, and they're having a movie that night. And again, I think it's a very minimal charge to get in. It's even less if you get tickets in advance. The reason why I want to mention that one is because that pool is also extremely accessible to anybody with any kind of disability. They have a wheelchair thing for people who are in a wheelchair. They have a way of getting you in the water, and then they have a very big, almost like a beach, which I think it's called zero depth. From when you walk in to the swimming pool, it starts at zero depth. And as you walk in gradually, they have a handrail there, and you can walk in gradually until it's up to your knees and then up to your waist, and then you could swim into the deeper end. So it is very, very much accessible, the main swimming pool on Bullard, right across the street from the stadium. But they're both on the same day, so if you have a person with disabilities in your family and you like to go out, you have your choice that day. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Yeager. Commissioner Van Adder, do you have anything to report this month?
Yes, I would just like
microphone.
Yes, I would just like to remind everyone that the Special Olympics swimming will begin in August, and for training. Actually, the competition doesn't start until October. But if you would like to train or have someone that does enjoy training, the Special Olympics swimming team will begin in August, and you can talk to Jenny Corlin, and her number is 623-222-2245. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Van Adder. And Vice Chairman Stutzman.
Yes, I have just a few things. I wanted to note that Dial-A-Ride has changed some things that it's important for the residents of Surprise to make note of. As of the 1st of this month, July, it is operating 365 days a year. So that's really, really great news. The 2017 budget increased the daily trips. So Monday through Friday, they're going to be 160 per day, and now there's going to be Sunday service. Now, Sunday will be limited service to 30 one-way trips a day, just like Saturday and holidays always were before. There are new rates One way within the city is now $2, and one way outside of the city is $4. But the absolute best news for disabled Surprise residents is that anyone in the city of Surprise that has their ADA certification, if they're traveling outside of the city, they now can complete their entire trip without having to do transfers. Before, they would have to take Dial-A-Ride out of the city and then transfer into another vehicle to go to their destination. So we thank them for coming around and making that accommodation for us. The second item I have is the City of Surprise has joined up with the Tumbleweed Center for Youth, and starting, I guess it was this past Thursday, from 1 to 5 on the northeast corner of Greenway Road and Parkview, and that's right by the firehouse down from the post office. It's going to be a mobile unit for homeless teens. It's going to have, or it did have and will every month now, provide an area for them to shower, for them to do their laundry, to pick up backpacks of snacks, school supplies. There'll be counselors there available for them and resources with social workers for any other needs they might have. The reason that I'm bringing this up specifically at our Disability Advisory Commission meeting is that I'm not sure how many people are aware, but national statistics show that more than 40% of homeless people suffer from some kind of disability. So there would be a large population of the people who might show up for that would require our services. So we wanted to let everyone know that that is there. The last I checked, and this is only based on school registration, so it's not a true number, there were 180 school students enrolled in the Surprise area school districts that were listed as being homeless. So there definitely was a need for that. So we're very thankful that the city picked up that expense and partnered with Tumbleweed so that we can meet these needs. And again, that's on Thursdays from 1 to 5. The last one it'll be the first Thursday of every month. The phone number for that connection to the Tumbleweed Center is 602-271-9904. And I neglected to mention the phone number for anyone watching that needs it for Dial-A-Ride. You can also follow their link on our Facebook page or on our webpage. But their phone number is 602-266-8723, and again, that's for the Dial-A-Ride service. The last thing that I have is actually an update to a report from last month where I had been trying to contact Rehabilitation Services of Surprise, which is a branch of DES, the Department of Economic Security with the City of Arizona, to get some recommendations for our Above and Beyond Award. So we kind of got bounced around and did some email exchanging, but I now have an Excel spreadsheet of all the employers in the City of Surprise who have worked with the agency to employ people with disabilities that are using these services. So based on the people that I spoke with and the statistics on the spreadsheet, I'm going to ask later in this meeting when we talk about items for a future agenda that we discuss the nomination of the Safeway store at Cotton and Bell in the City of Surprise for a future Above and Beyond Award. And that is all for me.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. As I begin, I want to say first off, thank you to Vice Chair Stutzman, who last month on very short notice was able to cover for me, and she did a wonderful job. And I also want to thank the board for re-electing me in absentia last week as chairman for the next year. When Vice Chairman Stutzman mentioned Dial-A-Ride, that made me think about something that I've been doing for a little bit, and I've noticed for people getting around in the city or even out of city, and those are those are two modes of transportation. One is Uber, one is Lyft. And you need to have an app on your smartphone for this, but if you are a person with a disability, you can request a certain type of vehicle so that if you have to run somewhere at 10 o'clock at night, because Dial-A-Ride doesn't run at 10 o'clock at night, correct? If you have to run somewhere at 10 o'clock at night and say you have a wheelchair, they will accommodate you. And both services are fairly inexpensive. To make a trip to the store would cost you less than like $3 or $4. So again, just to mention those, the one is Uber, you spell that U-B-E-R, and the other one is Lyft, L-Y-F-T. And again, you can request the type of vehicle that you need. That concludes my report. Mr. Harris, do you have anything to report this month?
Yes, just one brief item was requested, and this will come up later in the discussion, but it was requested if there was any further access to city events that may be upcoming, and the information received back from communications is that anything that they're aware of is promptly placed on the city calendar. There's no set amount of time prior to the event for something to be posted. Events are just posted as the departments send them over. So it appears that the best resource for identifying the any upcoming city events is to just continue to monitor the city calendar. That's my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harris. At this time, I would like to open the call to the public. So if anyone in our audience would like to come and address this commission, you may do so now. Once, going twice. Call to the public is closed, and we will move on to our agenda items. Agenda item number 1 is discussion and action pertaining to approval of the June 8th, 2016 Disability Advisory Commission meeting minutes. I have been able to read them. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Do I hear
I do have one correction.
Okay, go ahead, Vice Chair.
In the section of my report, under Commissioner Stutzman report, the SYC liaison that we're going to be working with, I failed to spell her name. Her name is Z as in zebra, E-N-I-A, Xenia. So if we could just make that correction to her first name.
Okay, do you want us to hold off on
It's a Xenia Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, I'm comfortable with making a motion that after everyone else has spoken, that they be accepted with that change noted.
Okay. Vice Chair Van Adder or Commissioner Van Adder and Commissioner Yeager, do you have any comments on the minutes from last month?
I wasn't going to mention too much, but as long as we're talking about spelling, my name is Y-A-E-G-E-R. It was spelled incorrectly on the minutes.
A-E, correct?
A-E.
That's what it has. It has A-E.
Which part is?
There's one spot it says Y-E-A. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was the first thing that I reported on.
Because you're on C, you're on Commissioner Yeager, and it has A-E.
I saw it somewhere.
Item number 2. I'll make that correction.
Oh, you saw it? Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Van Adder, do you have any comments? No. Okay, and Vice Chair Stutzman made the motion. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion carries. The meeting minutes will be accepted. Agenda item number 2, discussion and action pertaining to material and content to be included on the Disability Advisory Commission Facebook page. Commissioner Yeager.
Yes, before I begin, can I just ask, Virginia Mungovin, is that the one who's from the Diane Arthur's department, the communications?
Yes.
She's the one. Okay, yeah, I looked into that as well, and I found out pretty much the same thing, that they don't have, like in January, put out like a school calendar of yearly events, but they take it as they come. That shouldn't concern us too much, though, because I think they usually give at least 1 month's notice. So we need at least a month's notice to discuss it amongst ourselves if we're going to set up something there.
Are you talking agenda number 3 or 2?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I was talking agenda number 3. All right, item number 2. Excuse me. Thank you. That's for the Facebook page. Our last meeting, I was very pleased by some of the photos and stuff that we have on our Facebook page, and I looked into it a little bit more during this past month, and I got to tell you, I got to commend Robert Harris for doing a fabulous, fabulous job with our Facebook page. It's not only very current, in fact, I think it's current as of about 6 hours ago. That's how current he keeps it. It not only has loads of photos and posters and even a video, it has a lot of great information on it. And I was delving through it, and I was very, very pleased. I think it's in very capable hands. And quite frankly, I had a list that I was preparing to go through. You know those magnets that we have, the large magnets with all of our information on it? I was going to suggest that we put that on and our mission in a prominent level. But a lot of that stuff is already on it in some place, and it's easy to navigate through, which was another great thing in terms of links and resources. So, Robert, I really have to commend you. You did an outstanding job for the Facebook page. And quite honestly, although I was going through my mind this past month about what else we could put on it and what other things we can do, other than what we've already established by having people write to us on that, and then Robert would censor that information, we could always respond through him, and he can take care of it that way through that procedure that we already established. Other than that, I got to tell you, I don't think I don't see any real need for improvement. It's that well done. Easy to read, easy to navigate, very up to date all the time. And I think as commissioners on this commission, I think what we should do is to try to share that as much as we can and get as many people to like it as much as they can. And hopefully they'll see, I think the way it works, Robert, if I'm not mistaken, that once you join it, then anytime something is put on there, it goes to your inbox, so to speak, at Facebook, and it'll say, Robert Harris has included something else or made a comment on this here or that. Mm-hmm. So that's a good way of keeping up with people.
I would also like to
Chair Poshner, with your permission, I actually this photo that you're seeing is from the City of Surprise Facebook page. If you'd like, I could pull up the rest of the page just briefly, and maybe for the benefit of those who haven't seen the page yet, could take a look at it.
Go ahead.
The main photo, by the way, I think is very tasteful. It was a nice idea.
And Robert, as you're doing that, I would just like to reiterate Commissioner Yeager's sentiments, because it is a very well put together page.
All right. Is this on? Okay. You guys can hear me then?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So before I accept all of the, and thank you, but before I accept all of the encouragement on this, I basically all I'm doing is updating the content that people are providing me. So what you'll see here, this picture, for example, when the page was set up, this was a recommendation from communications. You mentioned Virginia. She actually came up with this picture as a recommendation, as well as the small inset. As was mentioned, there's been several posts and updates. The post that was put in today is just an advisory that we're having the meeting right now. You'll see other posts, and you've mentioned that such as this picture, other pictures that have been provided. These were actually from Vice Chair Stutzman. She's been able to provide a few of these to add as content, just to make sure that we stay current. We're posting a few things regularly. Another one that was provided, this as an example, a short video. Vice Chair Stutzman also provided. So really, I would encourage, as you mentioned, if there are items that any of the commissioners feel would be appropriate for the page, send them over, and I can have those vetted and promptly posted. Is basically the process. This is the administrative page that gives some statistics as well. So as you can see, that's reached 20 people this week. So that's it's a start. This is a new page. It's actually, if I were to pull up the statistics, it's 487% more than last week. So as we get more people looking at the page, and you mentioned, so this 20 people that are reached, these are the people that have liked the page. And if they've liked the page, anytime there's a post that's made, then they're notified in their updates. But I don't know if there were any other questions about the page or...
Are there any other questions about this
Anything?
page?
I don't know if you want to show, there's a thing that says links and has like a little chain for the...
Over up here?
yeah, maybe.
So this is just the home screen for the page.
Right. The icon was, I remember, a chain with links, and it said links on it.
James links. Not sure.
It was the same page that had our mission on it.
Oh, okay. So you'd have the. This is about the. You'd mentioned the magnet, the information from the magnet. Then the information from the magnet is consistent with the information that's on the small flyer. So actually use the small flyer to fill out all of the information about the organization. As you can see, this, so the short description and the long description. Or the mission. This is taken directly from there with all the contact information.
All the contact information is very clearly spelt out there, whether it's email or telephone number, so on.
And then there's photos and all these different items. So
I don't know, maybe it's under more. I forget where I saw it now. But posts.
Yep. There's even so some of the posts as well. They can be scheduled. So there are a few items that Vice Chair Stutzman has sent over, and those are scheduled to be posted in the future as well. So it allows you to stay current by planning in advance.
All right. Very nicely done.
That's pretty much it.
Yes.
So we could put that up like that.
Excellent. Thank you, Robert. So to continue, I throw it open to my colleagues, but I got to tell you, I don't see a whole lot of room for improvement. He seems to be on the ball, very, very up to date. So I'm not sure what else we can have on there other than advertising, which is the next item on our agenda, advertising events that we'll be participating in. But other than that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a question.
Microphone.
Anyone can notify Robert within the the City of Surprise that has events or plans for the people with disabilities?
Yes, they can send a message through Facebook and put it on there, and Robert will get it.
Right.
And then he can repost it or put it so everybody can see, or he can respond to them. Yes, and so can we, of course, obviously.
Okay, good.
Actually, we're not allowed to respond.
No. We can. What I meant to say was that we can also, like the public, contact Robert through Facebook
Right.
and say we'd like
The
to put
public
this
will
on
be
there.
posting them directly on the page, and then if Robert, as the administrator, deems that something isn't appropriate
Right.
or he's advised, then he'll remove it. But it'll post directly onto the page. We are the ones that have to provide him with a contact, with the content on a regular basis so that it remains looking fresh like that. So whenever you come across something pertinent, the more you send him, the better, because then he can just set them up and they can all be showing up so that it never has any downtime. But it's not his responsibility to find the content. All he can do is post it. So if we don't keep it fresh until there are enough people following it that are posting things, it'll go dead. So we have to make sure that we're not leaving it on his shoulders and we're constantly sending him things.
Very good.
So, say the tumbleweed shower project, does that need to be posted? Would the fire department send that information?
I'll let you field that one. When we have announcements that are made at this meeting, can we just say now that if we announce something and it's in our minutes and the city deems it applicable, that the posting would automatically go on Facebook? As the example of the events we talked about tonight, could something be posted on the Facebook page about them, or do we have to send you a specific request for that outside of the meeting?
Yeah, if it comes up in the meeting, I would say, after the meeting, follow up and send me a link or send me the specific information that you'd like to be included, and I'll just go with it. Yeah.
Okay.
But don't, as you said, don't feel like you have to wait for the meetings to come up. If there is other valid information, even between meetings, you can certainly send that my direction. It was mentioned, if the public were to send me something, I'd be more likely to reserve that information and then maybe present it to the commission, getting your okay to post something like that. But certainly, yeah, any content that you'd like to be reviewed, feel free to send it my way.
If I could just give an example, I think we're ready what we did tonight by Vice Chair Sutsman and Commissioner Bernata. Both of them gave some information where there were phone numbers involved.
Correct.
So if they could just, after this meeting and in the future, you don't, like Robert said, we don't have to wait for the meeting.
Yeah, I would say in the future, you can send it before the
information.
meeting if you like, or at any time.
Right.
And then you could still report on it as well.
Because even though we gave the phone numbers tonight, it's still difficult to get that information out there, somebody watching television.
Sure.
But if you put it on Facebook, then it's written. I think that's a lot more solid. So if you two want to just share that with Robert for the Facebook page, then it'll be up there and it'll be more permanent, I think, or more easily accessible. So that's a good statement.
Excellent.
Is there any other discussion? We'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is discussion and action pertaining to identifying future city events to have a Disability Advisory Commission presence in the form of an information booth. Again, to Commissioner Yeager.
Yes, as I was starting to say before when I jumped the gun, this Virginia from the Communications Department came up with the same information that I sought out. So they don't give it to us for the whole calendar year, but they do give it to us hopefully within a month. What I would like to suggest, starting from what I do know of what's coming up, Does anyone know the Fiesta Grande, when that is? I know we had 2 of them annually so far. Was that in September?
It was in October last
In
year, but I
October
don't know
last
that
year.
it's a fixed.
Okay, I did want to bring that up because that one is one we should definitely set up a booth at. We got a lot of interest, relatively speaking, at the Fiesta Grande. I worked it the last 2 years, and I couldn't remember for the life of me. I thought it was September. I remember it was still very, very hot. But I think we should set up, our booth for that this year. Also in October, they have the GAIN, G-A-I-N, which is an acronym from the Police and Fire Department. And it's a wonderful event in the parking lot for the regular pool. And we set up a booth there, I think maybe 2 years ago I worked it. Maybe I couldn't work it last year, or maybe somebody else did, I don't recall. But 2 years ago, and that we got an awful lot of information, and we made contact. It was very heartwarming, some of the contacts and some of the people who were having problems that came to see our booth. And we were able to set them straight. In one case, we had to find out information and call them up. They gave us the number. So that's a very good one we should do in October. Also in October coming up, and if with the chair's permission, I'll contact the person involved myself, but they're starting the registration for the Homeowners Association Academy. This is something that's done. I believe Vice Chair Sutzman worked at this once when we did the presentation together. This is an academy for the homeowners, people who are interested in being on a homeowners association or presidents and so on. It is open to not only residents of Surprise, but it goes outside the city as well. But the past couple of them that I've worked at, that I presented at, most of the people are in the city of Surprise. And we did, unfortunately, have to, were not able to give, follow up with some of the people who were outside the city of Surprise. But it does apply to most of the people. So with the chair's permission, I could contact the person who's in charge of that to see if they would like us again to do a presentation. I know it's usually on a weekday night, and it's usually 3 or 4 sessions. Let's say it's a Tuesday night from 7 to 9. It'll be Tuesday night from 7 to 9 throughout the month of, let's say, April or whatever it is. And when they're done, they usually have a couple of weeks in between, and then they start another homeowners academy, because apparently a lot of people, it's limited to about 50 people or so to get into. So when they're done, they start another one. And they have 2 or 3 of them usually throughout the year. And I believe the first one is coming up in October. So with the chair's permission, I'll contact that person in charge, find out some more details first if they want us to do a presentation. And we still have, Robert, I believe, the thumbnail drive with the PowerPoint that we made years ago. And I believe it's in the system, so it's been checked for viruses, etc. I don't know if you heard of that. It was before you came on board that this was made, but I do know it's in the system now, that we don't have to bring a thumbnail drive there, and there's no risk of contamination that it goes into the system. So maybe you could check that out. If you're not sure, you look like you have a not sure face on.
I will have to follow up with you on that when the time comes. Yep.
It's only about 5 to 10 minutes or so of a PowerPoint presentation, and I think that's about all we did, 10, maybe 15 minutes, Commissioner Sutzman and I think it was the last time I did it, to explain who we are and what we do and how we can help the Homeowners Association. And that also helps getting our message out there for the Homeowners Association. So with the chair's permission, I'll contact that person and report back on it next meeting.
Please do that.
Okay, and then I don't know what's going on for November. I did want to mention that in December, we have the surprise party, and Joe, you were the one who convinced me that we should look into that last year. I never thought, prior to you coming on board, I never thought that was an appropriate kind of setting for us to set up a table. And you convinced me, well, take a look at it and see, if we can do that. And if you remember, I did. And I was absolutely wrong. You were right on that. We didn't do it that Friday night because it wasn't appropriate, but the next day, on a Saturday, they have all kinds of things going on, which is still part of the surprise party, and it was absolutely wonderful. We did set up a booth, and again, I just want to reiterate, it doesn't cost us anything to set up a booth, whereas they charge a nominal fee for any vendor who wants to set up at all of these city events. The vendors have to pay, to set up a thing there. But ours is free, and we have a booth, and we got a lot of responses, again, relatively speaking, at the surprise party at Saturday during the day. So I would definitely encourage us to do that again in December. And it's a wonderful thing, it's not for one person to take it on, but if a few of us volunteer just to do like a couple of hours each, then we cover a good portion of the day. And the rest of the time while you're there, it doesn't hurt to walk around a little bit and see the other wonderful things that are going on. So I think that was very good. And those are some of the things that are coming up for the rest of this year. I think we should get involved in getting our message out there. We don't need any money, and we don't need any trinkets or anything else. We still have plenty of those. I think, Robert, you have most of them, and I think I have the other half. Yes. I still have the other half, though. But I don't think we need anything to give out. We have plenty of magnets left, I know, plenty of bracelets left. We have plenty of brochures left, plenty of the thing that Vice Chair Sutsman created a few years ago, 2 years ago, I think it was, with the handicap parking permits, which are a big seller. I'll count to see how many I have. But those are always a big seller. People are always looking forward to that. And I think that's about it. So I would like to encourage us to get out there and do that. So I'll take a look at the Homeowners Association, which is the first one coming up. And as soon as I see the first thing for the advertising for the game, I'll contact the person there to make sure we get a table if that's acceptable, if you think that's a good idea. That's also in October. And like I say, I don't know what's going on in November, and then the surprise party in December, and then other things throughout the year. The last thing I wanted to bring up with this subject is, and I thought about it, and I don't have an answer, but I would like to not quite vote on it, but just to hear your input to see if it was possible. I don't know if you're familiar with the second Sundays in the park, in Surprise Park. They have every winter from about October or so, maybe November, through April, I believe it is. The second Sunday of every month, they have some sort, on a Sunday, they have some sort of entertainment in Surprise Park, not too far from the pickleball courts. And it's a wonderful event. They get a lot of people there to turn out. They usually have a band or a karaoke thing or something going on. In addition to that, they have one or two vendors who sell hot dogs or cotton candy or something festival. They have somebody who sponsors it, like I think the year before last, Toyota of Surprise sponsored it, and they were giving away a car, and they was giving out raffles and so on. They also have a balloon maker, and they also have a face painter. I got my face painted the last time I was there. I don't know if that's a good, there's certainly room for it, but I don't know if that's a good place for us to set up a table. It is a more entertaining kind of thing. They put it on a very big grassy field, and people kind of sit, there's well over 100 people who come every time I've been there. So there's a lot of people there, and there's plenty of room to set up a table near a tree or something. And it's not the kind of thing where people would walk past you and say, what's this, or get information. They're mostly sitting and watching. But then when it's over, then they all get up to leave, and I don't know if that's, something we want to consider. I'm not sure myself if that's a good idea or not, so I'd like to hear your opinions on that, especially if you've been to one of these second Sundays in the park.
Commissioner Yeager, and I'm going to go back to what you said about the surprise party. You didn't think that was an appropriate event. We did do it, and it was successful. And you said this goes from October, November till April.
Yes.
So there's more than one. So what my opinion is maybe we do it for like one or two of them at the beginning, see what the feedback is, see how many people we get at our tables, and then we can make a determination, okay, this is something we want to keep doing, or this is something that's not generating the interest at this event. That would be my opinion.
Okay.
Vice Chair Stutzman?
Yes, before I go down my list, I'll respond first to the second Sundays because that was on my list to bring up too. The first one is on 9/11, so it actually starts in September. But I think with this one, this is one that we're going to need the city's permission. I don't think that anyone in the city would say that we shouldn't be there. I think that in general, if it is a city-sponsored event, we could almost be assured that we would be welcome there, rather than some private events where we'd have to get permission. However, I think that it could open the floodgates for a lot of different organizations that are involved with the government of the city of Surprise that will want tables, and it'll become a fair, an information fair instead of an entertainment thing. So I think 100% we should ask. And if they say, sure you can, but only once, and then if other people come up and say, well, they did it, why can't our organization be there? Well, then maybe that organization could have it the next month. And if they say, that's a great idea, we got great feedback, nobody else has come forward and asked, would you mind setting it up more regularly? And then we jump in and say, yes, we would love to be there. So I think that 100% we should definitely ask. Worst they can say is, no, it's not the appropriate place. Please check back with us another time, and we move on to the next event. So I'm for it. In making a list, I found the same thing as Commissioner Yeager, that there is no yearly calendar for the city at this time. So I just made a list like he did of things that come up. The surprise party was on there. They also have a vendor fair, kind of like a flea market, twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall, where they do have tables that people can purchase, but it's also a community gathering, walk up and down aisles kind of place. And I imagine that the city would not mind letting us set up a table at those. Right now, those dates haven't been published. For anything that's on the calendar, all I did was go to the city's new website and click on the calendar, and I just went through month by month to see what activities might work for us. So I encourage us all to do that at least monthly. Check a few months in advance and see as things are added to there. The other thing I would recommend, and we might all already be doing it, is subscribing to the city's emails, where we get an email directly for most of us to our phones, saying, there's going to be a dive-in movie, next Friday night, or, the police are having a whatever it might be. So that is a fantastic way. The commissioners, we should be doing it, but anyone who's watching live or watches this taped, it's a good thing to do. You can either follow them on Twitter or on Facebook, or you can subscribe to the emails, and then you will get the City of Surprise news directly to your inbox. And it's not something where you get 10 emails a day, maybe every other day, sometimes just once a week. So it's not anything that would bombard you, and it's often really, really helpful information.
And you can pick and choose what you want.
Yes, you can select different categories, or you can just opt in to have all of it sent to you. So the surprise party, the vendor fairs, public safety events, the most important one being the GAIN event, but occasionally they'll have like a bike safety or a child seat check, things where the police, who are City of Surprise public servants, that they would probably be willing to have us there. So those kind of events we can find out about, public safety events. The HOA academies that Commissioner Yeager talked about. Then the other two things that I don't have exact dates for, the fair housing event. Both of the years, actually it was 3 years that I did a presentation there, they were all in December. I don't know if they do that more than once a year, but that's something that we definitely, I was doing a presentation, but we had our materials there, and then people can stop after and, pick up the materials or bring to us their personal issues that they would like us to try to champion for them. So,
I could look into that
Okay.
as well, because that's the same person who's in charge of that is
The
in charge of
HOA?
the HOA account.
Excellent. Okay. Then the only other one, and John, you and I have done this before, was the health fair.
Yes.
That was on,
Right outside that building
right at
down
the
there.
end of the street here.
Yeah, that was the first one, I believe, and I don't know, I haven't.
Yeah, they did call it the first annual.
Yes.
So,
did they call it an annual?
yeah,
Okay, I
so
remember it was the first one.
we'll see. If they do
Yeah.
it again, they were very receptive to having us. There was a little confusion about where they were going to put us, but we ended up having to share a booth with someone. But it was free, whereas everybody else had to pay to be there. And people were there specifically looking for information, which is always great when they come wanting to find stuff out. So health fairs would be a good one. And then maybe Commissioner Van Adder could help us out. The adaptive recreation events, I think, are a great place because there are already families that need us. Now, I'm not saying we should set up at every baseball game or try to go down and be in Uptown Alley for, the bowling. That's not what I'm talking about. But say a registration day where they come and they're setting up booths and they have tables to sign people up for all the fall events or all the winter sports, where it's a gathering thing, because we don't ever want to take away from the events themselves. That's not our point. So if we knew, like we just missed one, I think July 6th was the big registration for the upcoming sports. But if we could find out when the next big registration day is and ask if they would like to have us, and then maybe one of us could go. And then again, Commissioner Yeager, as you mentioned, the swim party, maybe bring some information there. I mean, it is an adaptive family swim. So the people who are there because they have a family member that has that need. And that is, as you said, 5 to 7 p.m. on the 30th of this month at Hollyhock Pool. So I would say that the whole adaptive recreation department and their calendar, which is excellent, be a good resource for us, and that maybe we cross-share their items on our Facebook page as well as see if. So before I move on, I'll ask Commissioner Van Adder if you would be interested in kind of being a liaison for us on that. Okay, so Commissioner Yeager has the fair housing and the HOA academies, and Commissioner Van Adder is going to look into adaptive recreation. So we talked about second Sundays. So the only other things I have, there are 2 that refer to veterans, and they caught my eye on the calendar. Again, if they are a vet who suffers from PTSD. I know WHAM does a lot of work with vets that suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, and there are lots of vets that come back that are wounded, whether it's brain injury, loss of a limb, anything, loss of sight, that we may have a disabled population attending these veteran groups. So it's not a City of Surprise event, so it is something that we would have to ask permission to be a part of if they were interested in. And I thought that perhaps, was it Commissioner Herzog that is a VFW?
Yes. Yes.
Maybe he would like to take the charge on that. But the first event is actually tomorrow, so we won't be able to do anything with that. But it's going to happen twice a month for the near future. It's called the Veterans Job Club, and it's at the City of Surprise Resource Center at the Texcelerator, and it's on 7/14, that's tomorrow, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. But it'll happen again on the 28th, the 11th of August, and the 25th of August. So perhaps that's something that we could look into maybe once or twice throughout the year, going to that to see if there's a need. Then the other veterans-related item would be the Veterans Day Parade that they started this past November on Veterans Day was the first year that they had one. And I believe both Commissioner Vanderlanger and Commissioner Herzog might have been there. He talked about how fantastic the handicap parking was on that day. So that may be another thing, whether it's at the parade start or the parade end, wherever the festivities are actually happening, might be a place for us to be. Then very quickly, to not take everyone's time, the only other events that I wrote down revolve around politics, essentially. They are the city open forums with the different public officials that serve here. So if we have an open forum with Vice Mayor Jim Biondo, the open forum with Councilman Roland Winters, who has been a huge advocate and I believe has sat on this commission before, and then also the open forum with Rachel Villanueva. They generally have a meeting. It's once a month during the summer. Some months they have them twice. But for example, Jim Biondo is on August 2nd from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Palm Center, Mediterranean Room in Sun City Grand. Councilman Roland Winters always has his at the Retreat Center in Arizona Traditions, which is the opposite direction down Bell Road, and his are in the evening from 7 to 8:30. The next one being on the 12th of October. And then Rachel Nueva's, hers happen at the Surprise Senior Center from 6 to 8 p.m. and her next one is on the 17th of August. So just tossing that out there, kick around whether, citizens who are showing up to share their opinions with their elected officials might be the kind of people that are either seeking some kind of help or are a good voice in the community that maybe if they knew about us, they could be more vocal. So certainly not an every time thing, maybe once at each of them. So just tossing that one out there, and that's all that I had.
Excuse me, is there any other discussion on this agenda item for currently?
I did want to say that the flea market thing I've attended too. They attract a lot of people, and that's also in the parking lot right across from the swimming pool. So that would be a good one to get involved in.
Thank you, Commissioner Yeager. And agenda item number 4, discussion and action pertaining to future agenda items. And Vice Chair Stutzman, we'll start with you because I know you said you had one that you wanted to bring up.
Yes, I would like to put on the agenda that we discuss the possibility of nominating the Safeway at Cotton and Bell Road, with most likely either being the general manager or the HR representative would be the person who would come. But I will contact them and I will make a presentation next month, and we can discuss it and decide whether or not we think that they'd be the right ones to nominate.
Great.
Cotton and Bell, what did you say, Cotton and Bell?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other future agenda items, Commissioner Van Adder or Commissioner Yeager?
I guess I'll just, I don't know if it's an agenda item, but I'll report back on what I found. Did you want me to also check the second Sundays in the Park with Vice Chair's suggestion that we find out first?
Well, if I know who I have, do I get permission from the mayor? Is that who I have to go to on that?
Now that,
Because I can take the lead on that one.
Okay, I could give you the information on that one.
Okay.
I'd rather email it to you. I got it home. The email you can contact directly.
Okay.
Yeah, and all of that can be discussed in reports, whoever is coming back with them. And then I guess what we can do is we'll say in our report what's coming up, and then whomever is the person making the presentation of it, if they could also copy Robert on it so that those events can be advertised on our Facebook page.
Sounds good.
As for determining who exactly is going to attend, I think we can't have an agenda item every month to make a motion of who's going to attend what. So if we can kind of just in our report state, I'm going to be available for the surprise party, let us know what you have available or what you're intending to be at so that we can let them know if there's going to be a possible quorum, if more than, but I imagine that if we ever have that many people that are willing to do it, we're going to be staggering hours. We're not all going to be there having a small meeting, so.
Right.
Kim, don't we need somebody to kind of coordinate this, to say, you're available from 2 to 3 and she's available from 11 to 1, or I don't know. That's why I'm wondering if we should, because in a report,
Yeah,
you
I
can't.
think if
go
we
into
share
detail.
in our reports, I'm available, but only in the morning, that kind of thing, then we can finalize through email with Robert. Because I just don't think that we can have an action item every month to just discuss, walking out. If we say, can you
Right.
do 1 to 3 and I do 5, 3 to
Can
5.
you do that like after the meeting, you think? Just to kind of say, after we decide we're going to do the certain event, can we just briefly after the meeting say I can do it this time or that time?
Robert, what do you think would be the best?
I would also make a recommendation if you're going to be, you suggested communicating to me who's going to be in attendance at the events, just so, and the possibility of a quorum. If one of you wanted to take the lead on maybe making a list of what the events are, and then I can distribute that and use the feedback to notify everybody of who's available and what times they'd be able to attend.
Except we don't know that until near the event.
Till the event. That's okay.
Well, I can take the lead on that. If I get a list of the most prevalent events coming up, say a month or 2 in advance, and then which commissioners are available when.
Right.
So if the event is from 11 to 5 on a Saturday, and then John, you say you're available from 2 to 5, and Kim, you say you're available 11 to 12, I'm available 11 to 2, or 12 to 2, then I can do that, and I can try to put together a schedule for each event of who's going to be manning the table so we know.
Good, because I think that's what we need, somebody
And at
to
that
finally
point
organize.
there, because you need at least, 3 or 4 for a quorum? So if it's only 3 of us and it's Kim passing it to me, then me passing it to you, there's
Right.
really no, unless the other commissioners are in attendance.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's first of all, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to have all 7 people at an event.
You never
But-
know, stranger things have happened.
But if a strange thing happens, it's not prohibited. All we have to do is notify the clerk that
Right,
we're going to have.
right.
Absolutely.
So it's not prohibited.
Nope.
All right, good.
So I will go ahead and take the lead on that, Robert. Any other agenda items for next month? Any other business to discuss? Then this meeting for July 13th,
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Sorry. Vice Chair Stutzman makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Commissioner Van Adder seconds the motion. This meeting for July 13, 2016 of the Disability Advisory Commission is closed.